Welcome to Aquarium 911, where I help you with your aquarium problems. Today we have a question from Fabian about aquarium dosing. So when we're doing our fertilizers, how do we dose this correctly? Can I just follow the instructions on the bottle, etc.? So let's get into that email and let's help Fabian with his problem, because I think we can do this pretty quick. Dear Mr. Pasco, I hope this email finds you well. I've been following your content for some years and wish to thank you for the great info. You saved my fish from ammonium poisoning. Yes, I have hard water. Good to know that helped. Really good, because some people don't know to track these things, or don't know that depending on your pH will depend on whether ammonia or ammonium becomes toxic. We've got a video on that. Check it out. I've reached out to ask you might please consider doing a YouTube segment on this question. I don't know if this qualifies for Aquarium 911. It does today, Fabian. Don't worry. We got you. But I could use some advice. I've been keeping freshwater fish for about 4 years now and have diligently researched and studied probably over 2,000 YouTube videos. You and Alexander Williamson, my buddy Alex from Fishery, good guy, have been a blessing. Invested a small fortune in plants that would inevitably die one after another, even guppy grass, until I was able to get an RO system to bring my pH down, and then things got greener. Yes! I have a plethora of plant fertilizers, from Easy Green to Seachem, mapped out the ingredients of each, all the symptoms of deficiencies, and I try to dose whatever gap rises from the all-in-ones. I have 2 tanks, a 7-gallon Nano rimless cube and a 15-gallon rimless cube. All right, we're going fancy. I like it, but we're going nano, which I don't know how to do. Basically, if a tank isn't 40 gallons plus, Bentley doesn't know how to do it. It's because I can't keep rainbows in it, and that's my life, is just keep rainbows because I'm a dope. Now, the 7-gallon is the bane of my existence. I never know how to dose properly. The plants tell me loud and clear. I usually dose by the drop every couple of days. I have 6 amber tetras and a freshwater bumblebee goby who eat quite a bit. I have root tabs that I replace once a month that merrily leach some ammonia, so I water change 10 to 15% every couple of days. My parameters remain excellent and stable, so I think everyone is relatively healthy, not using CO2. My question to you is not what to dose. You've talked about it. You're well-researched. You even diagrammed out the ingredients in each fertilizer, which is impressive. I don't do that. I just kind of... How much to dose when you have fish in the tank with plants? I'm always scared that I will harm by giving too much iron, too much phosphorus, etc. I can read the plant's deficiencies, but I'm scared of harming my fish. Let's answer that first, then we'll move on to the next question. The good news is that almost all of our fertilizers out there, their dosing instructions have been tested with the fish and shrimp typically in mind. Not everyone has shrimp. Some do, like Brightwell and Nylock G, for example, have like shrimp formulations specifically designed if you're using shrimp tanks. But if you're using fish, almost all of them, and you've got like Easy Green and Seachem, some of the bigger name ones out there, they all have done their testing based on keeping fish in the tank with the plants. So following their dosing instructions will be safe and you'll be okay. That's the good news. Number 2, how quickly do plants ingest fertilizer? Uh-oh, science. I know plant growth will evaluate that, but if I'm dosing 1 drop of Easy Green in a 7-gallon tank that has Bacopa, 1 red lotus, 3 anubias, and some guppy grass, how quickly would you think the system absorbs it? Can too much potassium or phosphorus harm fish? Thank you very kindly for any assistance you can provide and the great YouTube content. Cordially, Fabian. This question is interesting, and I cannot answer this from a purely scientific perspective, but I can give you kind of like a base understanding that should help you at least feel a little more at ease. The dosing instructions given on each bottle will always keep you within safe levels. Can you harm your fish with too much potassium, too much phosphate? Of course. We can harm ourselves by having too much water, right? Anything in excess has a risk or a danger. Just like if you were to have, is 1 alcoholic beverage going to be dangerous right away? No. But if you have 10, 20, that's definitely dangerous, right? So we got to think about that. Everything in moderation, that mentality helps us also with our fertilizer. So how do we dose this to make sure, right? You've got like that 7-gallon tank that's the bane, because it's a weird number. It probably puts you where you're like, I don't know how to dose this. This fertilizer is 1 pump per 10 gallons, etc. If you have really, really heavily planted tanks, which based on what you're telling me plant-wise, it sounds like you've got a reasonable density of foliage in that aquarium. Dosing like a 10-gallon dose in a 7-gallon tank is not necessarily going to hurt you, but considering that you've been dosing by drops, I'm going to get a pipette real fast. I think that this is smart, and you probably want a proper syringe as opposed to a pipette because you can be significantly more accurate with it. But like, here's an example. Easy Green is formulated at 1 milliliter per 10 gallons, right? So here's your milliliter. This portion here is a milliliter. So if we find a way to divide this up over multiple days, we would know that this small dose, like say, by getting to a milliliter here, right? Well, most of that milliliter is up in this wider portion, right up here. Let me bring it in close, right? It's going to be up here in this wider portion. So if we kind of fill it up to here, especially if we can go in and like take that milliliter dose, find yourself like, here's a tissue culture cup. I do this all the time. I will pour a bunch of fertilizer into one of these and I'll get my pipette and I'll go around and dose because I can control my dose because I deal with some pump head issues because I run a dehumidifier in this room. And it crusts them up, and it's a bear. Like, look at this bottle of Easy Green. Just look at that. Look at that thing going on there, right? This pump head don't work for... And that's okay. I can just take the fertilizer out of the bottle, pour it in here, grab my pipette, or syringes if you want to be really, really, really meticulous about it. And I would say in the case of a 7-gallon aquarium, you're going drops at a time. That syringe might be your best friend. But I can take 1 milliliter out of that bottle, and I can pour it into this little thing, and it can give me an idea when I fill it partially about how much is left. I can kind of guesstimate, right? Maybe what I can do is take it from here and put it into a different cup. And like if I'm only filling up about this far, focus camera, there we go. If I'm only filling up this far out of my 1 milliliter, it wants to be on my face. How many times do I need to do that before this becomes empty and I've refilled the other container? Well, that will tell me approximately how big that dose is. And we can kind of control it that way. Use little practical ways of measurement. You don't have to be perfect. But if we can take like that 7-gallon and we can say divide it so that we're dosing 3 times a week. Well, all of a sudden that 1 pump per 10 gallons, if we can turn that into 3 roughly equal doses split throughout the week or every other day, that's going to give us a good level of nutrition in that aquarium despite it only being 7 gallons. That makes it way easier, right? So there's the dosing part. Let's talk about uptake. Can I science you on this? Exactly right. No, I cannot. Can I give you an idea? In general, let us say that we're dosing for that 10 gallons. The plants will probably consume that 10 gallons worth of fertilizer over the course of 3 to 4 days. So if we keep a leaner dose in the water, we can assume that the plants are going to handle that in 1 to 2 days. Certain plants will uptake faster than others. Guppy grass, bacopa, a lot of your very aggressive growing things are going to bring in more nutrition than something like, say, a Java fern or an Anubias, any of your slower growers. Fast-growing plants uptake more than slow-growing plants. It's just the nature. Think about it, right? If you've got somebody who's a bodybuilder, we're going to think of it this way. Growth equals muscle mass, right? If we're going to think about a bodybuilder like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, that guy's going to eat like 15,000 calories a day, right? Some crazy amount. But if it's an average person, they only need 2,000 calories a day. Or maybe even only 1,500 if you're like a fairly petite person to stay healthy and stable. If those very fast-growing, those bodybuilder plants need 10,000 calories, that's 5 times as much as that Anubias, that regular person. So their uptake speed is going to be equivalent. Does that make sense? I hope that puts like the mentality in your head about what we're talking about. And instead of being like perfect on science, because I'm sure there are scientists who have done all this analysis, you probably could find it. You seem like you're really into researching that stuff. I'm the wrong person to give you the perfect science on it. Someone like Crystal Castleman would probably be really good. A few of my friends in the scientific community who also do a bit more live streaming stuff. So like Kelly Foreman, as an example. She's not necessarily, she plays more into like a different portion of science, but she's nerdy enough to dig into this kind of stuff. She might know. She does Wet Your Plants with Stephen P. pretty often. Shout out to my friends, by the way. They're great people. But I want you to just think of it that way, right? Those very fast-growing plants are going to uptake nutrients faster than your Anubias, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like go, okay, I need this much for that plant and this much for that plant. Keep your dosing to the aquarium, and as long as you're dealing with those deficiencies as you see them, or you're keeping something where there's a consistent lean dose of available nutrition for those plants, you should continue to see success healthy plants, nice growth, all those good things without ever risking any harm to your fish. You're very clearly concerned about making sure that nothing could possibly go wrong for your fish, and I respect that, I appreciate that, I love that. But most of the time, as long as we're within those dosing instructions, we're not going to do anything so out of hand that it actually risks your fish health. Cool? I hope those 2 little tips help. And kind of that other thing about how to spread your doses out and figure that out, I hope that gives you a little extra tip, answers your question, Fabian. If not, get back to me. I'll try to give you a little extra detail, all that kind of stuff, right? So, to the rest of you watching, how does this help? Well, hopefully those analogies help you kind of think of things the way that I think of things when I look at aquariums. Because when I look at something and I'm identifying a problem, or I'm trying to fix something, or how I change my dosing in a tank, I think of it in like really practical ways. I don't try to go, okay, this plant consumes exactly 1 gram of this every blah day, so I need to split my... You don't have to go that hardcore. We don't have to treat this like we're weighing out every individual thing, right? We just have to have a basic understanding of certain plants that grow significantly faster, have higher nutrient uptake. So you have to make sure that we're not running out of nutrients, but we also don't want to have so many nutrients that it causes other problems. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you learned something new, or maybe you have a different cool analogy to explain things the way I did, leave it in the comments down below. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Literally that like, comment, subscribe. Those are the 3 best and completely free ways to tell little Papa YouTube, hey, I really like what this guy is doing, and I hope that someone else will too. They help us grow, they help us prevent all the sponsorship things, all that good stuff that keeps YouTube as minimally invasive as possible when it comes to advertisement. I'm assuming you're like me and you hate ads. I hate ads, which I try to do the minimum amount on my channel. If you need my help, down in the description below is a link to the initial Let Me Help You video about how we started Aquarium 911. That gives you all the details, what you need to send me. I will warn you, I'm getting a lot of emails, so it does take me a while to get back. So don't try to send me like fish disease. I'm not good at doing that quickly. I'm sorry, but if you're having plant problems, algae problems, things like that, shoot me an email. I will do my best to help you out. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.